Stop, don't scroll. Because what I'm about to tell you might be something you've heard before, but maybe you've never truly understood it. Your life isn't only shaped by what happens to you. It's also shaped by what happens inside your mind after it happens. Two people can experience the same failure, the same rejection, the same difficult day, the same criticism, and yet walk away with completely different results. One person becomes bitter, the other becomes stronger. One gives up, the other learns. One spends the entire night overthinking. The other accepts what happened and focuses on the next step. What's the difference? They're mental habits, because your mind has patterns. You have a way of reacting when you're angry, a way of thinking when you're afraid, a way of talking to yourself when you fail, a way of behaving when you're under pressure. And if you repeat those patterns long enough, they become automatic. You don't even notice you're doing them anymore. You wake up, check your phone, compare yourself to someone, overthink something that happened yesterday, get distracted, procrastinate, become frustrated, rat-rack, emotionally, feel guilty, promise yourself you'll change, then repeat the same cycle tomorrow. And eventually you start asking, why am I still the same? But here's the truth. You cannot keep repeating the same mental habits and expect a completely different life. You want more confidence? You want more confidence? Your thinking has to change. You want more peace? Your reactions have to change. You want more discipline? Your relationship with discomfort has to change. You want to stop overthinking? You have to learn how to control your attention. And you don't need to change everything overnight. You need to change the way you train your mind. So today, we're going to talk about 7 mental habits that can make you calmer, stronger, more focused, and more in control of your life. And I want you to listen carefully. Don't listen just because you want motivation. Listen because you want to understand yourself. Because one of these 7 habits may expose something you've been doing for years without realizing it. And once you recognize it, you can finally change it. 1. Stop reacting immediately. This may sound simple, but it can change everything. Something happens, someone says something, and instantly you react. Someone sends you a rude message. You immediately type an angry response. Someone criticizes you. You immediately defend yourself. Someone ignores you. You immediately assume they don't respect you. Someone disagrees with you. You immediately feel attacked. Someone makes a mistake. You immediately become angry. And afterward, you regret your reaction. You think, why did I say that? Why did I lose my temper? Why did I respond like that? Because you reacted before you thought. Your emotions moved faster than your judgment. And this is one of the biggest differences between emotional weakness and emotional strength. A weak mind says, I feel it, so I have to act on it. A stronger mind says, I feel it, but I can choose what I do with it. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to be disappointed. You are allowed to be hurt. But you don't have to let every emotion become an action. That's a huge difference. Think about anger. Anger tells you, respond now. Your ego says, prove them wrong. Prove. Your pride says, don't let them disrespect you. But what happens when you wait? Sometimes you realize it wasn't worth responding to. Sometimes the message you were about to send suddenly looks childish. Sometimes you realize the person wasn't even trying to attack you. Sometimes you discover that you misunderstood the situation completely. That's why the pause is powerful. A few seconds can protect you from hours of regret. So the next time something triggers you, don't immediately respond. Stop. Breathe. Step away. Give yourself time. Ask, do I really want to respond? Or do I just want to release my emotion? That's a powerful question. Because sometimes you're not looking for a solution. You're looking for somewhere to put your anger. And other people don't deserve to become the target of emotions they didn't create. The same thing applies to social media. Someone posts something you disagree with. You feel the urge to argue. Stop. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to correct every stranger. You don't have to prove your intelligence to people who don't know you. Your attention is valuable. Don't spend it everywhere. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Sometimes walking away is not weakness. It's self-control. So, remember this. Don't let a temporary emotion make a permanent decision. Stop. Think. Then respond, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to control yourself. 2. Hold on. Don't believe every thought. Your mind talks constantly. From the moment you wake up, your brain starts producing thoughts. Some are useful, some are random, some are memories, some are fears, some are predictions, some are assumptions, and some are completely wrong. But here's the dangerous part. You don't always recognize the difference. Your mind says, I'm going to fail, and you believe it. Your mind says, they probably hate me, and you believe it. Your mind says, everyone is ahead of me, and you believe it. Your mind says, I'm not good enough, and you believe it. But stop for a second. Who said that thought was true? Where is the evidence? Just because your mind produces a sentence doesn't mean reality agrees with it. Imagine someone looking at the ocean and saying, there must be a monster under the water. Does saying it make it true? No, the same principle applies to your thoughts. A thought can feel real without being true. And this is especially important when you're stressed, when you're tired. Your mind can become more negative. When you're afraid, your mind can imagine the worst. When you're insecure, your mind can turn small problems into huge ones. So, you need a new mental habit. When a negative thought appears, don't immediately accept it. Hold on. Question it. Ask, is this a fact, or is this an assumption? Do I have evidence? Am I thinking emotionally? Is there another explanation? Imagine you make one mistake at work. Your mind says, I'm terrible at this. Stop. That's not a fact. You made a mistake. That's different. You fail an exam. Your mind says, I'm stupid. No. You failed an exam. That's information. It tells you something about your preparation. It does not define your intelligence or your future. Someone rejects you. Your mind says, nobody will ever want me. Again, that's not reality. That's fear talking. You need to learn the difference between what happened and what your mind says what happened means. That's where mental strength begins. And be careful with the way you talk to yourself. Imagine your best friend makes a mistake. Would you tell them, you're useless, you'll never succeed, you're a failure? Probably not. So why do you speak to yourself that way? You need to become more careful with your internal voice, not fake positivity. Not pretending everything is perfect, just fairness, instead of, I always mess everything up. Say, I made a mistake and I can improve, instead of, I can't do this. Say, I haven't learned how to do this yet, instead of, my life is going nowhere. Ask, what is one thing I can change today? Your thoughts matter, because repeated thoughts influence emotions. Emotions influence actions. Actions become habits, and habits shape your life. So when your mind starts attacking you, don't immediately believe it. Hold on. Observe the thought. Question it. Then choose what deserves your attention. 3. Let go. Let go of what you cannot control. This habit can save you years of unnecessary stress. Because so much of our mental suffering comes from trying to control things that were never ours to control. You can't control what someone thinks about you. You can't control someone's opinion. You can't control whether someone likes you. You can't control what happened yesterday. You can't control the weather. You can't control every outcome. You can't control the decisions other people make. And yet, people spend hours worrying about these things. They replay conversations. They imagine what someone might be thinking. They worry about something that hasn't happened. They try to change the past. They ask, what if I had done this differently? What if I hadn't and said that? What if they don't like me? What if everything goes wrong? And while their mind is living somewhere else, life is happening right in front of them. You need to learn the difference between responsibility and control. You are responsible for your actions, but you're not responsible for everyone's reactions. You can be respectful. Someone can still dislike you. You can work hard. The result can still be disappointing. You can prepare. Something unexpected can still happen. That's life. Your job isn't to control everything. Your job is to control what belongs to you. Your effort, your attitude, your decisions, your preparation, your response, your next step. So when something is bothering you, ask, can I do something about this? If yes, do it. If no, let it go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because your mental energy matters too. Think about how much energy people waste trying to change someone's opinion. Imagine spending that same energy improving yourself. Imagine how much you could accomplish. Instead of wondering, why don't they respect me? Ask, am I respecting myself? Instead of, why didn't they choose me? Ask, what can I improve for the next opportunity? Instead of, why did this happen? Ask, what can I do now? You can't control the past. But you can control what the past becomes. It can become a wound or a lesson. It can become an excuse or experience. That's your choice. So, let go. Stop carrying things that were never yours to carry. You don't need to solve every problem in your head. Some things simply need acceptance. And acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means seeing reality clearly enough to decide what to do next. Forward. Slow down. Stop overthinking everything. Your mind can create an entire movie from one small event. Someone doesn't reply to your message. You think, maybe they're angry. Then, maybe I said something wrong. Then, maybe they don't respect me. Then, maybe they don't want to talk to me anymore. And suddenly, you've created an entire story. But you don't actually know any of it. All you know is they haven't replied. That's it. Everything else is a story your mind created. This is what overthinking does. It takes uncertainty and tries to turn it into certainty. Usually negative certainty. You imagine the worst because your brain wants an answer. But sometimes there is no answer yet. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to accept uncertainty. And that's difficult because we want control. We want to know what will happen. We want guarantees. We want certainty that everything will work out. But life doesn't give guarantees. So, instead of trying to predict everything, learn to stay present. Ask, what is happening right now? Not, what could happen? Not, what might happen? Not, what if? What is actually happening? If you're sitting in your room, you're sitting in your room. If the exam is next week, it's next week. You don't need to experience the exam 7 times in your imagination before it happens. If you have a difficult conversation tomorrow, deal with tomorrow when tomorrow arrives. You don't need to spend tonight fighting an imaginary version of it. Overthinking feels like productivity, but often it's just mental exhaustion. You're thinking a lot, but moving nowhere. So, when you notice yourself going in circles, stop. Write down the actual problem. Then write down what you can do about it. If there's an action, take it. If there's no action, release it. You don't need to solve everything tonight. Uh, you don't need to know everything today. Sometimes you need to sleep. Sometimes you need to breathe. Sometimes you need to step outside. Sometimes you need to stop feeding the thought. Your brain deserves silence too. So, slow down. Not every thought requires an answer. Not every problem requires immediate solving. And not every uncertainty deserves your peace. 5. Wake up. Order your own patterns. You can't change something you don't notice. This is one of the most important mental habits you can develop. Start observing yourself, not judging. Observing. What happens when you're stressed? Do you become angry? Do you isolate yourself? Do you procrastinate? Do you start scrolling? Do you eat? Do you sleep? Do you avoid the problem? What happens when someone criticizes you? Do you become defensive? Do you attack back? Do you immediately assume they're wrong? What happens when you fail? Do you learn? Or do you tell yourself you're incapable? What happens when someone succeeds? Do you feel inspired? Or do you compare yourself? Self-awareness means becoming a student of your own mind. You start noticing. Every time I'm uncomfortable, I reach for my phone. Every time I'm afraid of failing, I procrastinate. Every time someone criticizes me, I become defensive. Every time I compare myself to others, I feel worse. Once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. Imagine you always procrastinate before starting difficult work instead of saying, I'm lazy. Ask, what am I avoiding? Maybe you're afraid you'll do it badly. Maybe the task feels too large. Maybe you don't know where to start. Now you have something you can solve. Break the task into 10 minutes. Start with one small action. That's self-awareness, turning into change. And don't underestimate the power of noticing. The moment you notice, I'm doing it again, you've created a gap, and inside that gap, you have a choice. You can repeat the pattern or change it. That's why you need to wake up, not just physically, mentally. Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to your reactions. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what makes you stronger. Because your life becomes easier to change when you finally understand how you operate. 6. Move on. Learn from the past without living in it. Stop. There are things in your past that you wish you could change. Maybe you made a decision you regret. Maybe you trusted someone you shouldn't have. Maybe you wasted time. Maybe you missed an opportunity. Maybe you failed. Maybe you hurt someone. Maybe someone hurt you. And sometimes your mind goes back there, again and again. and again. You replay the moment. You imagine different decisions. You think, if only I had known, if only I had acted differently, if only I had listened. But here's the problem. The past doesn't listen. You can spend 10,000 hours thinking about yesterday, and yesterday will remain exactly the same. So what can you do? Learn. That's it. Take the lesson. Take the experience and move forward. Your past should become information, not your identity. You made a mistake? Learn. You failed? Learn. You trusted the wrong person? Learn. You wasted time? Learn. But don't turn "I made a mistake" into "I am a mistake." Those are completely different statements. One describes an action. The other attacks your identity. Don't do that to yourself. You are allowed to grow beyond the person you used to be. The person you were 5 years ago had less knowledge, less experience, less awareness. Maybe they made bad decisions. That's okay. You don't need to hate your old self. You need to understand them. Then become better. Forgive yourself where forgiveness is necessary. Apologize where an apology is necessary. Repair what you can. Learn what you can't repair. Then keep moving. Because sometimes you're not stuck. Because the road is blocked. You're stuck because you're constantly looking backward. So, move on. Your future needs your attention. Give it to your future. S even. Level up. Train your mind every day. And finally, understand something important. Your mind doesn't become stronger by accident. You have to train it. Just like your body. If you want stronger muscles, you train. If you want better skills, you practice. If you want a stronger mind, you need repetition too. Every difficult decision is training. Every uncomfortable conversation is training. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, training. Every time you stay calm when you could have reacted, training. Every time you get rejected and keep going, training. Every time you fail and try again, training. Mental strength isn't something you're simply born with. It can be developed. And it usually develops in moments nobody sees, when you're alone, when you're tired, when nobody is encouraging you, when the excitement is gone, when the easy option is right in front of you. That's where mental habits are built. You don't need to become perfect. You need to become more intentional. Maybe today you can control one reaction. Tomorrow you can control another. Maybe today you can focus for 30 minutes. Next week you can focus for an hour. Maybe today you stop one negative thought. Tomorrow you catch another. That's progress. Don't underestimate small changes. A 1-degree change in direction may look insignificant at first, but after enough distance, you can end up somewhere completely different. Your mind works the same way. Small choices repeated every day. Eventually, become a completely different way of living. So, don't ask, how do I change my entire life overnight? Ask, what mental habit can I improve today? That's a better question. Because you don't need a perfect day. You need a better decision. Then another. Then another. And eventually, your life begins to look different. Now remember, these 7 mental habits. Cop. Stop reacting immediately. Hold on. Don't believe every thought. Let go. Relâche what you cannot control. Slow down. Stop creating problems in your imagination. Wake up. Notice your own patterns. Move on. Learn from the past without living inside it. And level up. Train your mind every day. These aren't just motivational words. They're practices. And they only work if you actually use them. The next time someone makes you angry, stop. The next time your mind tells you that you're not good enough, hold on. The next time you're worrying about something outside your control, let go. The next time you're trapped in endless thoughts, slow down. The next time you repeat an unhealthy pattern, wake up. The next time your past tries to pull you backward, move on. And every day, take one small step toward becoming mentally stronger. Level up. Because your mind is with you everywhere. You can change your job, change your city, change your friends, change your routine. But you still take your mind with you. So if you don't train your mind, you can change everything around you and still carry the same problems. You can move somewhere new and still overthink. You can meet new people and still seek approval.